This is Rennie Knopf with Championship BBQ.TV, and you're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live.
Okay.
Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the Really Big BBQ Central Show, a show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling, originating as we do each and every week from the barbecue capital of the North Coast, Cleveland, Ohio. Happy to have you aboard here. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Maybe you thought all week about how you're going to be putting in your phone call to the show tonight, or you have crafted a finely written email and you want to shoot it over my way. This is how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Sending an email, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Or on the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening coming up in about 12 minutes from now. Third Tuesday of the month. It is February, almost over. Next week is it. Then we'll be into March, if you can believe it or not. We'll be closing out the first quarter of 2019. But tonight, since it is the third Tuesday, we will be joined by traditional third Tuesday of the month guest. He is a BBQ Hall of Fame'er. He is a cooking class instructor. He is a TV show host. He is a prolific cookbook author. I would argue, I don't even know if I have to argue, the most prolific live fire cookbook author of our time, of all time perhaps. And friend of this show, Steven Raichlen, will be joining us. We have a number of different items to talk about with Steven. One thing right off the bat that's jumped out to me is a discussion that I have had with the inner circle over the course of the day, with something newish that's popped up. I mean, it's something that hadn't been on my radar as far as how it was presented to me. Doug Scheiding said, hey, we were talking about some kind of dry aging or beef. Doug was at a restaurant, something along these lines, and he had made a reference to the fact that the restaurant he was at, or the purveyor, had dry aged the beef first, then went ahead and wet aged it for a certain period of time. To me, that was bizarre. Now, being completely transparent, there is a great steakhouse here in Cleveland, which I did bash the last time. However, we did, because I love to live in hypocrisy, I did go back last week for Maddie's birthday party that was on the 13th. But it was just Maddie, my wife, my oldest daughter. The other one was playing volleyball, so she missed out. Long way to go to say there is a steak on their menu, Red's the Steakhouse menu, and it's not on there all the time, so if you're lucky enough, I guess, or if you just happen to be there when it is, they call it a 40-day dry-age steak. When you read the fine print, it says 20-day wet-aged, then 20-day dry-aged. But in the big billing on the menu, it says 40-day dry age. So I had called over the manager and I said, hey, I'm reading this. It pops in my face that it's 40-day dry age. But then when I read it, it looks like there might be 40 days of some kind of aging, some wet, some dry, because I am a preferer of the funk. I would rather have those 20 days of wet age usurped with an additional 20 days of dry, giving me 40, which means anything plus 28 or 30 days starts to build in that funk factor. So I would love to have the 40-day. And it's a more expensive steak, probably by $20, $25 over the traditional prime ribeye at 16 or 18 ounces or whatever it is. So, I mean, it's in the $75, $80 range versus the $60 range for just the regular prime ribeye. That's how I had seen it first. I hadn't seen it dry age first, then wet age. That seems somewhat bizarre. Not saying it didn't happen. I'll talk about it with Steven Raichlen as we lead off the 14 past the hour segment. Number of other items to get to. I diverged. I apologize. 35 past the first hour. It is new third Tuesday of the month guest, the creator of grillgirl.com. Robyn Lindars will be joining me. Of course, last month she started her monthly appearance with us. She was leading into a Steak Cook-Off Association contest that was taking place at the Shed in Mississippi. I believe that's where they're at, or Louisiana, wherever the hell they are. And she made a number of definitive statements that were cutting, that were going against the very fabric and grain of what was winning at steak contests, specifically how much she wasn't going to rub her steak or buy a commercially made steak. Also, there was an ancillary category, which was Bloody Marys. And if you're a fan of this show, especially over the last 2 months, you've heard the revised rant of Bloody Marys being absolutely ridiculous in how they are built and turned in, or even had at a number of different restaurants across the country. It's outrageous. So we'll talk to her about that event, some other items that are coming up as well. Her husband, big duck hunter, so we'll see if she has any new duck. And these are live duck, not the farm-raised duck that I had from Duck Char. That's the first hour. Second hour. Took a little bit of building today. However, we have managed what I am sure will be at least a solid one segment. That would be the 14 past. The pitmaster of Big Poppa Smokers, the creator of the Big Poppa Smokers spices and rub, Sterling Ball, will be joining me this past weekend in a competition sense. His Smithfield Guinea Pig contest took place. Another rousing success. This is now, I believe, is it the third or fourth iteration of a Smithfield-sponsored guinea pig? Originally, it was just Big Poppa's guinea pig, and then Smithfield started taking over sponsorship. I believe I saw at least one new sponsor taking place of another in the meat side, so we'll talk about that as well. Number of other competition things with Sterling Ball as it relates to his upcoming season, as it's probably just starting to get underway, or at least they're thinking about how many they want to do. Sterling, not a 35-40 type of event guy, somewhere in that 15 to 20, maybe 25, depending on what his schedule is like. Remember, if you don't know Sterling, and I've said it 100 times before, I have no idea why he's wasting his time on barbecue, other than it's his passion and that's what he wants to do. He lives a really exciting other life, which we have never talked about on the show. His dad was Ernie Ball. You ever heard of Ernie Ball? You know, the guy that is the guitar strings, now morphed into musical instruments, partnering with top-name artists, customizing their guitars, fat necks and otherwise, hanging out with the likes of Eddie Van Halen and Kirk Hammett and you name it. Bill Murray's his best pally, aside from me. So I have no idea why he's even bother wasting time with barbecue when he could be hanging out with all of the coolest rock stars ever. Ever. But he gives time to this show, which I appreciate. He's also a longtime sponsor of this show, which I certainly appreciate as well. So always fun to catch up with Sterling Ball of Big Poppa Smokers. Then to close out the show, and to say I'm 50-50 on this one coming through might be a stretch. I had mentioned it last week that we were freshly into the 11th year of live shows of the Barbecue Central show. It existed 2 years prior in straight podcast format, and then I had converted it into a live internet show in 2008. So we are just pushing past 11 years, and I reached back out to the guy who really helped me find a voice and gave me a live platform to start out on, and it is the what is called now LA Talk Radio, but back then it was BBS Talk Radio. Sam Hassan will be joining me, maybe. And we'll be talking about the evolution of both of our brands and enterprises over the course of the 11 years, how he has grown, how he has had to change and adapt because, much like me, where there was a bevy of podcasts, barbecue-related, coming out, you had to change it up, you had to set apart, and that's why I went live. There have been a number of internet stations that have come on board now over the last 11 years. So what is he doing to continue to evolve and continue to lead the pack when it comes to internet programming stations, live content? I believe if you put in talk radio, LA Talk Radio, if it's not the first, it's on first page returns of Google. So incredibly successful and continuing 11 years. I don't know if we thought we were all going to make it 1 year, but we did. Steven Raichlen coming up out of the break. Let me talk to you quickly about my pal Matt Eads. You know him as Grill Seeker. It's a soon-to-be-released book. It's great. How great? It premiered on Amazon as the #1 new release in the barbecue and grilling section. It's called Grill Seeker Basic Training for Everyday Grilling. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the author. From the battlefields of Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Bosnia, to a state-of-the-art outdoor kitchen, Matt Eads is looking to unite people through grilling. No matter our race, gender, sexual orientation, cultural upbringing, socioeconomic standing, or political affiliation, cooking over live fire brings people together. Differences get set aside, and that's why you should pre-order your copy of Grill Seeker Basic Training for Everyday Grilling right now. The focus of Grill Seeker is to show readers that gourmet grilling doesn't have to be just a weekend activity. I mean, come on, let's change the mindset. With Matt's tips and tricks, you can craft amazing meals and create amazing memories for family and friends every night of the week. That's what it's about. These memories and the camaraderie that grilling has created for Matt, dating back to his teen years and throughout his time in the Marines, fuel the desire to spread his passion for outdoor cooking. They're also the reasons he started the United by Flame movement on social media. You can find that under hashtag United by Flame. Here's a few teasers from the book. I mentioned these last week, so let me tickle your proverbial back end with a smoke-infused feather. Grilled grapes and roasted garlic-infused ricotta crostini. Grilled Nashville hot chicken. I love Nashville hot chicken, so I'm looking forward to trying this recipe. Grilled peach boats with mascarpone ice cream. How does that fancy you? Don't forget to join the hashtag United by Flame movement. Head over to grillseeker.com, and at the very top of the site, above the logo, click on the United by Flame link, and then check out the page. Don't forget, you can send Matt a photo of yourself cooking in front of your grill or barbecue pit. He will, in turn, go ahead and share that on the United by Flame page. You become a member. Join the movement. Let's do it. But before you join the movement, go to Amazon.com. There's a link on my homepage, on the logo button, or in the sponsorships page. It all links over to Grill Seeker Basic Training for Everyday Grilling with Matt Eads, newest partner of this show, and certainly appreciate it. Pre-order the book, man. Everybody loves the pre-order. It's the Grill Seeker. He'll be on next week, is actually. Programming note, Grill Seeker on next week. Steven Raichlen coming up out of the break. Stick around, be right back.
Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
You know, I'm thinking about it. I didn't have a picture of Steven Raichlen all set up because he's actually going by phone tonight. Well, we'll see what I can swing out while we're shooting from the hip. This portion of the show brought to you by Butcher Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, and the world-famous grilling oils. All of Butcher Barbecue products tested on the competition circuit as well as in backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood. Visit butcherbbq.com to stock up now. Always trust your butcher. Well, let's see if I can't just add it right now. Go to the media section. We'll go here. We'll go to the new folder. We go to show vid pics. And we got to go all the way down to the S's. And I go back through this page, and there have been a lot of different people on this show. I can tell you that. A lot. Okay, now we're in the STs. There's Steven. Let's see, which one do I want to use? One's got his name on it. Well, we'll just use this one. I want to be topical. I don't want to use the one that says, Primal Grill on it. That's good enough. Yeah, why not? Let's go ahead and raise Steven up. My first guest on the third Tuesday of each month is a 2015 BBQ Hall of Fame inductee, a TV show host, a barbecue cooking class instructor, a multiple-time author, and you see him here on the third Tuesday of every month. We race to the hotline and welcome in Steven Raichlen. Steven, how are you, buddy?
Been great, Jody. How about you?
I am absolutely fabulous, Steven. Appreciate the time, as always. You are not via Skype, which means you're traveling, so where do we find you in this great country?
So I am on the Tamiami Trail between Naples, Florida, and Miami.
All right, Tamiami Trail. That's a pretty big trail, if I come to understand. Any cool places along the stops?
Well, lots of alligators along the way, and the Indian villages, and airboat rides, and so.
Are you a big fan of eating alligator? Is that something that you've partaken in and enjoy?
I have eaten alligator. I can't say it's enough meat, so I really crave it. The other thing we have down here that's great are frog legs. And I would go out of my way to eat a Florida frog leg.
How do you prepare that? What do you find to be the best way?
So, as you can imagine, the way I prepare them is with curry butter and grilled. The most traditional way to eat frog legs down here is deep fried.
I've heard through many of the generic stereotypes that frog legs are somewhat akin to chicken. Would you place them in that same category?
Yeah, I would. Chicken leaning toward rabbit.
Let me ask you a question before we get into some of the other topics that we had kind of game planned for this evening. And I don't know if you can answer it, but this is something that just popped up today. I was going back and forth with a few of my inner circle members who was at a restaurant, and he had a dry-aged steak, but it was a little bit different than the norm. They first dry-aged the beef, and then, after whatever the designated period of time of dry aging, they wet aged it for another portion of time. Is this something that you've heard of before?
I've never heard of that before. And I'm not quite sure I'd understand what the advantage of that would be.
If I recall correctly, and my memory is shoddy at best, the way it was explained to my pal Doug was that it was dry-aged first, then wet-aged secondarily in order to maintain more of the moisture. But I would imagine if you're going for a dry age, you're willing to sacrifice the moisture loss for a more robust flavor, if you will.
Yeah, but water has enough flavor. The more you kind of add dry aged, the more intense the flavor is going to be by itself. But I'm sure your friends put thought into that secondary wet age. Until I taste it, I don't know. So keep an open mind.
There is a steak joint here in Cleveland that does the opposite. They wet age for 20 days, which makes sense. I mean, a lot of these things are coming in some type of a cryovac, I would imagine. So you let it hang out there for 20 days or whatever. Then they take it out. They dry age it for another 20 days. Now, personally, I would rather have that dry aging process be more than 20, at least 30, maybe into the 40, 50-day range. So that makes a little bit more sense. But the opposite is still a little mind-boggling to me.
Right. I guess for me, the bottom line is what's exciting is when I was growing up, a steak was a steak was a steak. And now there are so many variations. People are pushing the envelope in so many different directions that, it's a really exciting time to be a griller and an eater.
Steve, let me ask you and I'm going to ask you to speculate over the general population just to make sure that I'm kind of understanding where your mindset might be at. I believe at this point, and maybe over the last 3 or 4 years, that the consumer has never been closer to the source of where beef is coming from. But I've heard divergent views saying, well, while there is access or while there is an ability for a consumer, if they're interested, to track down all the way back, if you will, like grape varietals with wine, the vast majority have become completely inactive or unmotivated to find that out. And it's worse than it ever has been, even 30 or 40 years ago. Do you agree with that?
I think we are a schizophrenic nation, a schizophrenic culture, and I think that there's a sort of an elite group, but subpopulation that is very concerned where food comes from, that wants to know the pedigree, that insists on organic, grass-fed, heirloom varieties, heritage varieties. They cost more money. There is no doubt about that. And then there are, kind of the mass consumer that maybe is more concerned with price. It's funny, and I was talking with my wife about this the other day. There's a new business that opened in Miami that calls itself Wild Food. And we went in this thing, and this place is like a giant frozen TV dinner. Every single item in the store is frozen. And despite the moniker Wild, everything is just industrial beef, industrial lamb, sold frozen. It is the most antithetical to the way I shop and the way I think about food. So that's sort of another extreme. I don't know what prompted a business like that, and I have no idea what its prospects for success are. But if it succeeds, I'll be pretty depressed.
Steven Raichlen joining me here on the show, BBQBible.com, his website. Steven, let's go ahead and talk about the 2019 edition of BBQ University. We kind of talk about it each and every year, kind of a lead up before you have it, and then we like to recap it after the fact. So what are you looking at from a curriculum standpoint, and is there anything that is going to be changing from a trend standpoint that you're going to be doing there?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, before BBQ University comes, we're getting ready for the next Steven Raichlen's Project Fire TV show, which we're taping in March in northern Florida. So we're going to be looking at this show will have a much more of a tropical cast, a Gulf of Mexico cast than my previous shows, and I'm really excited about that. The shows that we've got lined up for the new series very much align with books I've written or working on. I've got Brisket Chronicles coming out in April, and so one show is Brisket 24/7. We're going to do sort of a crass immersive course in brisket, including, by the way, a brisket that you can cook in 2 minutes. It's Korean style, so that's pretty interesting. Another show I've got coming up is called Grilling Green, and it's actually a meatless show. There's been so much just exploding interest in green grilling and vegetarian grilling, and this will carry over to BBQ University 2019 as well.
Couple follow-up questions on that, Steven. From a location standpoint, haven't the last couple seasons been in California?
They have been, yeah. So we try and jump around. We've been in southern Arizona. We were in southern California. We've taped in Arizona, and now we'll be taping in northwestern Florida. For me, it's fun. It's a different background, different local foods, local specialties. I know we'll be doing a lot with Gulf seafood in this show. Funny, everybody knows Nancy. I was just on the phone with Nancy, and we're trying to line up a source for fresh hearts of palm because that's a Floridian specialty, tropical fruits from the Redlands.
What about stone crab? Is that in season?
A stone crab is in season, and I'm sure the crew is going to be feasting on stone crab. I'm not convinced that grilling is the best way to cook it, although, I wouldn't be surprised if we try smoking it.
A follow-up to the green grilling thing that you had mentioned, if I remember correctly, your daughter is a dietitian, right?
not only is she a dietitian, but she's the dietitian for the Miami Heat basketball team.
Okay, well, even better. So have you had a conversation with her in regards to the influx or more widely available plant-based proteins, specifically those things like the Impossible Burger or the things that look like meat and taste like meat, act like meat? But when you start to break down what's in them and what the calorie count looks like, is she a fan of that, or is she a little bit more on the schneid?
Well, I think she, first of all, she is virtually a vegetarian, which is, talk about a strange thing to happen in a family of, a griller like myself.
Right.
But I think for both of us, there's sort of two very big philosophical questions. And one is, if you were eating a meatless diet and grilling meatless, as it were, grilling green, do you want to celebrate plant foods for being plant foods and the flavors they have and the textures and the unique qualities they have? Or do you want to kind of replicate the meat experience with plant-based ingredients? And I think we both kind of come down more on the side of trying to celebrate plant foods for their unique qualities. Sure.
Steven Raichlen joining me here on the show, BBQBible.com, his website, talking about Project Fire 2 coming up, obviously BBQ University. For the folks that are interested in taking a look at BBQ University, obviously it's set in a very majestic place. It's not cheap by any stretch, but if you're looking to make a special weekend out of it, or you both have some live fire, maybe you're bringing a buddy or whatever, how do you sign up for that?
Well, visit BBQBible.com and click on About Steven, then BBQ University. That'll send you to a link. Or you can call the Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs. That's where we hold the school. And, you get sign-up information there. It's a pretty intense program, 3 days of barbecuing and grilling. And you asked what's new earlier. One thing that's always new for us is we always get new grills, new smokers, new techniques. Every year the menus are different. And only thing that's not different is we get a lot of repeat students. So certainly one of the high points of my year.
Are you surprised that you have, do you have any idea what percentage of students that you get every year are repeats? Is it 50% or 30% or more than 50?
No, it's not quite that high. I would say it's about 15%.
Do the people that have been there more than once, maybe it's their third time, maybe it's their fourth time, do you find that they are very quick to volunteer, or is it a pretty well-mixed noobs, intermediates, and experts that are hands-on?
I try and plan every menu with a few rudimentary dishes for beginners, a few complicated dishes, more complex dishes for more experienced people. And, certainly our alums definitely enjoy the role of helping the newbies, showing them the ropes of how the school works.
Steven, let's switch gears real quick here. We've been following how your newest book, the Brisket Chronicles, are going through the process here. So bring us up to speed on where the book's at right now.
Well, the book is at the printers, and if you are an author, there are a few things more delightful than having the book finally off your desk when you can make no more changes or revisions at the printer when it's actually going to be turned into a book. So what are we now? We're toward the end of February. I'll probably have my first bound copy in about 2 weeks. The book will ship in April, and then I'll start touring at the beginning of May.
Do you have a tour schedule of cities planned out yet?
I do, and it's on BBQBible.com. We're launching the tour in Austin, Texas, which feels very appropriate for a brisket book. Let's see, I'll be in, we've got Texas, I'll be in Chicago, I'll be in Kansas City, we will be in Tennessee, Atlanta, Miami, Boston, so New York City. I think we're launching the book on the Today Show, so it's a pretty typical, Steven Raichlen workman tour. The other thing that's really fun is I'm teaching a set of master classes in Turin, Italy, the 21st and 22nd of June. Now, you may remember from previous conversations, I have a TV show on the Italian Food Network called Steven Raichlen Grills Italy. So this is a barbecue store and school called BBQ Paradise in Turin, Italy. I'm sure you have a few followers from Italy. Italians are just grill crazy, barbecue crazy these days. So I'm really looking forward to that experience too.
Steven, I don't want to take you to task here in front of all the Centralites, but I believe the last time we talked about a book tour, there was a Cleveland, Ohio mentioned in there by you. What happened?
Yeah, well, it's not on the schedule yet, but the schedule's a work in practice. Note to self, call the publicist, chew her out and tell her to send me to Cleveland.
Maybe you said, hey, let's stop in Cleveland, and they were like, did you just say Cleveland? No. We're going to send you right past Cleveland and go into Chicago or some other real city. I think that's probably more or less what happened. I know you want to be here. I know you want to be here.
I'll get there. Don't worry.
Steven Raichlen joining me here on the show, talking about the book, The Brisket Chronicles. So the book is off the desk. It's going to be out April. Are you already thinking about a new book, or are you already constructing a new book?
I'm already working on a new book.
Wow.
I'm actually working on a couple books. The first one, there may be a grilling green book in the works.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually working on another project that may be surprising for people, but, in Venice, there is a kind of tapas that's called cicchetti, and they're served at these wonderful Venetian wine bars, which are about the last place when you can actually meet a real Venetian, with the wave of tourism that's in Venice.
Sure.
So I'm working on a project on Venetian wine bar food, and I've got a story on that coming out in the travel section of the New York Times in a couple weeks. So that's sort of an unexpected interest that has nothing to do with grilling, but everything to do with great flavor.
What kind of a food is it? Is there a genre for it?
So imagine tapas, and it's everything from a myriad of different kinds of meatballs to open-faced sandwiches to panini to interesting salads, interesting seafood. It's extremely varied. It's if any of your listeners are going to Venice, it's a very inexpensive but explosively flavorful and extremely colorful, picturesque way to eat. And like I said, when you go to a Venetian wine bar, you'll be with Venetians. You won't just be with tourists.
Steven, last question before I let you go, and I appreciate the time as always. Over the last 3, 4, 5 years, the competitive steak world, regardless of sanctioning body, has been exploding in popularity. Is that something, if you were around it or it was down in Florida or Martha's Vineyard, depending on where you're at over the course of that particular season, is that something that you would throw a couple $100 down and take part in a steak contest, or no?
Well, I would certainly love to observe it and especially taste the fruits of it. I don't really do competing. I've always been kind of more of a reporter and doing field work and reporting on what people are doing in that field rather than actually competing myself. But I find it a fascinating phenomenon. And speaking of Italy, actually, they have really gotten into American-style competition barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
They have sanctioned contests, and this is an export that is really finding a home all over the world.
Steven Raichlen from BBQ Bible joining me here on the show, the website bbqbible.com, and he is on the Tamiami Trail and you were heading to Miami, correct?
Heading back to Miami.
Heading back to Miami. All right. The third Tuesday of the month, you find him here. You can find him at bbqbible.com anytime else. Steven, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Great speaking with you.
There he is. He's a BBQ Hall of Fame'er if you need him. Steven Raichlen. Yeah. Third Tuesday of the month right here on this show. Don't sweat it. If you're just tuning in and you missed Steven Raichlen, he'll be back in a month. You can catch the podcast tomorrow. Go to my website, click the subscribe button. That will show you all the ways you can connect. I will talk to you quickly about my second hour guest, Big Poppa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue. a curated selection of the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies to get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. They have these championship rubs, 13 to be exact. Popular flavors like Money, Sweet Money, Desert Gold, Double Secret Steak, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, just to name a few, all proven winners on the comp circuit and in my backyard. They offer 13 perfectly balanced flavors that transform ordinary meals into extraordinary. They have a great partnership with Steven Raichlen out there at Simply Marvelous Barbecue. Finished top 20, by the way, Guinea Pig. You put those two rubs together, you got West Coast offense. You ever heard of that? No? Get out from the rock that you're living under and do some Googles. They also are the proud owner of Granny's Barbecue Sauce. If you're looking for a new go-to sauce, Granny's is the one you're going to want to try. Aside from that, they also have a number of other top-rated sauces at BigPoppaSmokers.com. Aside from those rubs and sauces, they offer cookers. That's right. If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out the Mac 2-Star General Pellet Grill. Big Poppa Smokers, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offers special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? Take a look at the Old Hickory Ace BP. It's the only charcoal smoker that Big Poppa trusts on his competition trailer. If you're a backyard barbecue enthusiast looking for a durable, versatile grill that's easy to use, the M Grill will last forever. They're built like tanks. If you're not sure what kind of grill you need, hey, don't worry. Just head on over to BigPoppaSmokers.com. Pick one out. If you have any questions, give them a shout. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop the website, BigPoppaSmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA Smokers.com. Grill Girl up next. Stick around.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Cookin' Pellets, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all the pellet-driven cookers in your life. You visit cookinpellets.com to purchase, or if you would prefer, you can go to amazon.com and purchase there as well. Chris Becker and the gang over at Cookin' Pellets looking to get him back on the show as well. All right, my next guest is the newest third Tuesday of the month guest, creator of grillgirl.com. We race to the hotline and welcome back Robyn Lindars to the show. Robyn, how are you?
Hey, Greg.
Put on your camera. What are you doing?
I have it. I thought I had it on. Hold on.
Come on. You know you don't.
All right, let's see.
Let's see. Here we go. There we are. Ooh, look at you. All sophisticated with the glasses and everything, huh?
This is just my smart look I'm going for.
I didn't know you wore glasses.
These are my computer glasses. It's just that, like, hot teacher look I'm going for.
Are they your cheaters? Cheaters? Is that what they call them? Are those cheaters or are they real glasses?
I mean, I have a very slight stigmatism or whatever, so I wear them sometimes just because when I'm typing up recipes and stuff.
So visit Robyn's website if you're doodling around, grillgirl.com. You can follow her on Instagrams at grillgirlrobyn. See what she's up to.
Robyn.
That's right.
Yep, with a Y.
Right, Robyn. So don't make that mistake. But Google her. Do you have the blue check mark?
I think I do on some networks and others I don't. Do you?
No, I don't. I tried to get a blue check mark for Instagram, and they were like, no, you don't get it. And they don't.
Well, you know what?
They don't tell you why. They just deny you.
They're finicky over there, so whatever.
Finicky. All right, so last month in your first recurring role, you were talking about, amongst other things, that you and your dad, Eddie, were heading down to the shed. You were going to be taking part in this Steak Cook-Off Association event, and you were really pretty pumped up about it.
Oh, my God. So much fun. And I have to say, we also competed with Jeff Romero, and the last episode I was on, I totally butchered his last name because I was exhausted and I had like brain fart mom brain. So I'm sorry about that, Jeff. And Brad and everybody at the shed totally gave him so much SHIT about it.
Really?
Yeah, they did. Because I was like, I just had a major brain fart. So I'm
What
sorry
did you
about
call
that,
him?
Jeff.
Did you call him like Jeff
I said
Toothman or something?
Salerno or something. I think I'd been on like Nick Solaris's feed on Instagram, and I had his like last name in my brain.
Yeah.
And I just like, you know, you have those like parent moments where you're like, I want to talk about this, but then you're like your brain just doesn't work because you're exhausted. And that's what I was having that night.
All right, Robyn, I'm going to tell you right now, as a parent of 3 daughters ranging in age from 17 to 13, almost 18, and almost freshly 14, by the way. Go to joebees.com, JOEBEES. They're not a sponsor of the show. They have no affiliation with me. For the last 7 years, I've been taking their products, a bee pollen supplement. I don't know how else to say it. And he's like a Florida guy, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Really?
I've taken
my Florida peeps.
I've taken it for 7 years. My mind is sharp. My will is fantastic. And my health, my, immune system is so...
How's your stamina, Greg?
Is so screw stamina. My immunity is so robust that while all of the other 4 women in my house are coming down with all types of sicknesses at any moment, I haven't even had a cold in 7 years.
Really?
I'm
you know,
not
my
kidding.
grandma always took bee pollen, and she's like 90, and she's still kicking. So maybe there's something to it.
I'm telling you, there is something to it. And again, no affiliation, so don't take it and be sick, and I'll just make fun of you for the rest of the time. Anyway, let's get back on track. So you were heading down to the steak cook-off. One of the things that you had mentioned was that you were going to be ultra simple on rub. Maybe like not a lot of rub at all. And I was like, whoa, that's way off base. That's not what people are doing. I know what I'm doing, Mr. Reppy. You shut up and you host your show, but I'm the one competing. So give us a breakdown of how it actually shook out.
Well, Greg, if you know me and if you followed all my stuff over the years, you know that whatever I say I'm not going to do, it always comes back and bites me in the ass. And that's how I ended up with a Chihuahua and a cat and using a pellet smoker and now sous videing, because they always said I would never sous vide. And that's why I was almost going to be late tonight, because I just cooked an excellent sous vide steak that I actually even saved a piece. Look at this.
Hold it up.
Is this crazy shizzle, you guys, or what?
Wow. Good color.
My camera, but look, a perfect medium rare. I mean, I saved this for you. I was like, really, and you know, my husband, he got it for me, but he really got it for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been like, he's like, let's use it. And anyway, so whatever. So the point is that whatever I say I'm not going to do, I always do. And I said I was going to keep it simple with the rub.
Yeah. And
we didn't, because you know what happened was, Dad and I stayed with Mama and Papa Shed while we were there. And Papa Shed has been schooled by Johnny Joseph. And so, Papa Shed, Daddy-O, or Craig,
whatever you call him.
And you got to love them too. Like the whole Shed family is awesome. And that's why this competition was so much fun, because the Shed doesn't do anything half-assed, and Brad is freaking hilarious. And like the whole thing was just so fun. Right. So we stay with Mama and Papa Shed, and, Daddy-O gave us a schooling. And so he learned from Johnny Joseph, and he whipped out this rub that was like Saison, like what we have down here in Miami where I'm from. But I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? We're using Saison. Like, I'm in Mississippi, not Miami. And the point is that you need something to compete with that has MSG in it to place. And I was like, SHIT, because that goes against what I'm all about. But when you're cooking and competing, you only have that one bite, and that one bite needs to stand out, and that's what you got to do. Okay. So we changed it around, and we did really awful on their first cook, because so here's how they did it at the Shed. They did 2 rounds of steak, and it was really cool how they did it, because then the winners of that then competed against each other in a live cook-off during the award ceremony, which was like, it was like Chopped meets an award ceremony. It was really fun. And our second one, we did 33 out of like 90, which is in the top third. So I'll take it.
Right.
So we changed our strategy. So unfortunately, even though you don't want to, you want to be a purist. I think the stuff that's placing is
who
stuff
wants
that
to be who wants to be a purist? Who wants to be a purist? You want to be a purist. Nobody else wants to be a purist. All right. So go ahead and apologize and say I was right.
You were totally right, and like I said, and actually, I have a blog post from 2015 that was, and I made these like goals, and it was like hashtag try new things, and and it was hashtag never say never. So, like I said, whatever I say, I will never do. Always comes back to bite me the ass, and that was it. So you have to use a rub, or you have to have something with MSG in it, is what I learned.
Because we are on the worldwide internet, there's no reason for you to spell out shit. You can just say it. Nobody's going to get fined. Unless it's a mom thing that you're working on, so you don't swear in front of your kids.
You know that I curse like a sailor, but I always feel like the potty mouth on your show, so I'm trying to be better.
Nobody can be worse than Sam the cooking guy. That guy's dropping F-bombs like hot potatoes. So, a couple shits here and there, no big deal. Now, so next steak cook-off, you're definitely sticking to the rub guns, and it's MSG, and it's one-bite flavor, over-the-top type stuff to stand out.
Yeah, and I have to say, Jeff on our team, after we did that one, he's done 2 others in Katy, Texas, and Jeff Romero from Holy Roller Smokers, he's awesome, and he's like my Texan brother, but he just won 3rd in Katy, Texas, so it's working.
All
so.
Right. Let's quickly hit this item because I want to make sure we spend time on the Bloody Mary ancillary.
Yes.
Setup-wise there at the shed, was there a lot of PK grills, grill grates, and B&B charcoal, or is that stereotype a little overblown?
Well, all stereotypes exist because there's some truth behind it, right?
Sure,
and there is some truth behind that. You see a lot of PK grills, you see a lot of grill grates, and you see B&B charcoal. They're a player, and they have good product, but especially you see a lot of PK grills. You don't need to compete on a PK grill to win, and you don't have to use grill grates, though I think it helps. I think the point is that you have to get your temperature down, and you need to use a grill that's going to get you there, and you have to look for consistency when you're cooking, and you really just have to get your temperatures down. So that's what it's all about, is being able to master that without having a lot of distractions. I think the reason that we didn't do so well in our first steak that we did was because there were a lot of distractions. We had some like photographers from the Food Network there, and just like, that's distracting. You guys saw me get chopped on the first round of chop because I couldn't focus. And then I had the oyster situation where I cooked with oysters I wasn't familiar with. I'm an East Coast girl. I had some West Coast oysters. They weren't what I was used to. But anyway, the point is that you got to be so focused, and that's I think when Johnny Joseph teaches his class, it's probably about like focus and timing and the right combination of seasonings and rubs, so you get the perfect mouthfeel and the right finished product. Because the guy that actually won the steak cook-off was a guy that was Robert Edwards, Robert Edwin. I can't remember. I'm having mom brain. It's just I can't remember. But Robert, the guy who won the cook-off, was a graduate of Johnny Joseph's class.
Does he attribute his success specifically to that?
I don't know, but evidently they have a process that they have gotten down, and it's working well. It's worked well for him. Though Johnny Joseph didn't place in that competition, but I think a lot of it is just getting your times and your temperature and your consistency.
Okay, we can talk on and on about that, and I'm probably going to end up blowing out my segment here, but I want to make sure that we're spending the right amount of time. Quick question, just answer very quickly on this. From a grill grates perspective, okay, now it's 2 quick questions. How many non-grill mark steaks did you see turned in? Less than 10%? Any?
Yeah. Less than 10%. I had some newbies next to me that were friends of at our next to our tent that were like friends of Fred Salinas, who's the guy that does a lot of photography for the shed. And I loved them because they owned a food truck and they came out and they borrowed like a Weber Smoky Mountain or something. And then they finished in cast iron. And he was a chef and I loved it, but they didn't have grill marks. And though they say that it's not just about appearance, you have to know that that's something that plays into it.
That was my next question was, do you feel like if you didn't put grill marks on, your chances of winning would have been decreased unfairly?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, there's an ancillary category, Bloody Marys. By the way, if you're keeping score, my girl Robyn right here, 3rd overall in Bloody Marys. So congratulations. That's huge. Out of how many entries?
45.
Wow. So that's huge. I mean, over half the field turned in Bloody Marys too then.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm conflicted. I have to be honest. And we're going to go to the pictures here for this one specifically.
Okay. Let's do it.
You know, Bloody Marys, it's a drink, Robyn. It's
I know.
got this, Bloody Mary mix. If you're feeling a little froggy, my dad would drop some horseradish in this. Maybe an olive here, maybe a celery stalk there. But it's a drink served in a glass, and there's not a lot of shit that you have to remove in order to drink it. However, what I saw at the Shed event is exactly what I have been railing against for at least 24 months, which is it appears, cursorily from my purview, that you have to have heavy equipment in order to assemble shit that goes all over this drink.
Yeah.
And somehow that makes you a winner, but it's a drink. So first questions first. Do they even bother drinking the drink to judge how well it tastes?
Yes. And so let's just back up a second. So based on the research I know, not all state competitions request, or this is not an ancillary that happens at all the state competitions. Right. I'm sure that this is, and I do feel that this was fitting because it's the Shed. And if you look on a map where the Shed is located, they are located in like almost like smack dab between Biloxi and New Orleans, which are two of like the drinking capitals of the world, based on my knowledge of that stuff. And I know these things because we know that I'm a party girl and I'm from the South, even though I don't sound like it, and I enjoy a good cocktail. Having said that, I do think there's a lot of pomp and circumstance going on with the entry because I don't feel like you have a level playing field on the taste when you enter like a small raw bar with your entry. And that's what, like, I thought I was being so smart and clever when I came in with that crab and shrimp and the whatever.
I'm showing it right now.
And I got there and I was like, oh shit, I'm like in the big leagues here. And then like literally when I made the joke about the raw bar, it wasn't really a joke because there were people there. I didn't get a picture of this one, but there was someone that had basically a shelf propped up on their drink that hosted a sampling of like raw oysters and whatnot.
So here's your drink right here that I have on the screen right now. So you have, a lemon. So the glass is nice. It's rimmed with something. The drink looks pretty appetizing. And then there appears to be, is that a soft shell crab on that drink?
It's a soft shell blue crab that was actually I snagged because the Shed hosted a low country. Well, I call them low country boil because I'm from that. I'm more from that area. But yeah, just like a seafood boil, a crawfish boil, and and I did mine with, first of all, I think the reason mine won was I really paid a lot of it, or I didn't win, I got third, was that I paid attention to the mix was what I was really, that's what I'd been working on. And then the garnishes for me was like, I got to get this together, but I was really focused on the taste. But and that was shrimp. That's actually
is that a jalapeno on top of the shrimp?
pickled
Yeah.
okra, an heirloom
okay.
tomato,
Yeah.
and I think if you look at the score that I didn't perform as well as others because of my appearance, it wasn't as over the top as others.
Yeah. So here's a guy who has, I mean, you can see most of the glass. It looks like he might have a crab claw hanging out. He's got a bunch of olives. I would say this is probably on par with your style of garnish that you had on yours. I mean, it's a little crazy. Maybe yours was a little crazy because you had the whole.
That guy's so cool, by the way. He competes.
I don't
on
care.
the
I don't
Shed's
care about him.
barbecue
Who
team.
cares about
Anyway,
him?
okay.
So
yeah, but
now,
it's like an egg roll, I think, is what it was.
So
just
here we
to
go.
clarify.
Now we have a whole crab, but all of his appendages are on this top of this glass, and you have perhaps more okra, olives. Now we're starting to get a little ridiculous. Now we have this guy.
This guy's the one that actually won, and I asked him if he would keep up with me because I wanted to put he wanted to at least give him some cred on my website, but he never followed up, and but yeah, he's got a slider.
Yeah, it appears to be multiple sliders.
Yeah.
So you're going to take off burgers
and bacon
to get to stalks.
Oh, and pork belly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see that pork belly. Yeah. So I mean, you have a whole bunch of food on top that you're going to eat, I guess, and then you're also going to drink this drink. Then you have this incredible monstrosity. I don't even see a glass. It's all sitting on top of the glass. Now, here is the one that takes the cake. Rob, this is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if you remember seeing this or not.
Yes.
What the hell is going on here?
That's like...
She's holding it with two hands and a small track hoe so she doesn't fall down.
She had to put her drink in that vase that she's holding so it wouldn't flip over, and she called this the meat bouquet.
Yeah, look at it. I mean, it's like an antipasta salad. My Italian family is racing over.
I'm not a fan of fruit mixed with charcuterie. That's just me.
Yeah.
I like to keep my, unless it's like a jam that you might put like on a cracker, but that's goat cheese in the the skewers.
Yeah, I figured it was some kind of, I figured it would have been a mozzarella because there is a lot of antipasto type stuff going on there. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, it's going to take you an hour to deconstruct that. And then you have all of this food. Do they have to eat it?
No. So when you turn it in, you have.
So they're not being judged on this at all? This is only presentation score.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
And I mean, I know. And those judges had to be so totally shit-faced by the end. Like, how many Bloody Marys can you only take a sip of?
You spit it out.
And not be hammered.
You spit it out.
Would you spit it out?
Robyn,
I would not spit
you're
it out.
a raging alcoholic. Of course you wouldn't spit it out. Give me a break.
But it just seems like, I guess you're right. I guess you would spit it out.
Yes, it's like you go to a wine tasting and you have 54 wines to taste. You swish it around, you spit it out.
You're right. You would. I guess I
course.
didn't equate the way you would do wine tasting to Bloody Mary tasting.
I would say, Robyn, you're probably not too far off the track here saying that in a particular barbecue event or a steak event, the judges might be taking in better than 75% of their sips. So
I don't know. They look like a bunch of old farts, but that's South Mississippi. You're really close to New Orleans. It's like they can handle their Bloody Marys.
Yeah,
you know
so maybe they weren't spitting anything out. Maybe they were taking it all in. Probably a pretty good chance.
Maybe I'll judge it next year. Yeah. As someone that's placed, I would be good as a Bloody Mary judge.
Right. You've finished high enough to go into the judging pool and tell everybody else their drinks taste like crap.
Well, no, you just need to, go in with a good recipe.
And you don't have
to.
And
if you want to know what I won with, I actually put it on my website. So I have leveled the playing field. I mean, the thing is, I think if you do most competitions, they're not going to have 45 people. Like most local, like this was a big deal. It was hosted at the Shed, but most are probably not going to have as much competition, which is going to help you progress higher and get a ticket to the World Food Championships.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I would hope that if you go into the judges' tent, Robyn, that you are not going to fall victim to giving high scores to all this craziness that's on top, that you will really be giving all of your points for quality of drink, because in the end, it is a drink.
It is a drink, and it needs to taste good. It needs to be something that you would want to present and serve other people. And, which is why actually I saw Leslie Roark
Right.
from New Bonds
Yep.
in line, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to lose because Leslie's here and they have the best Bloody Mary mix ever.
Right.
But I'm sure she might have gotten judged against her because her presentation was good, but it wasn't over the top, you know?
Well, it's all very interesting, and it does lead in. It just supports my weirdness. If you YouTube crazy Bloody Marys, there was some restaurant in like Phoenix. I mean, you should have seen this thing, Robyn. It was absolutely. It puts the antipasta Bloody Mary to shame, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
And that was over the top. I'll have to find the link and send it to you so you can check it out. But these things have grown into an incredible array of everything that isn't the drink, unfortunately. So. Look, we're way over time here. You go visit Robyn at her website, grillgirl.com. Robyn is Robyn, and you can find her on Instagram, which she's very active on, at grillgirlrobyn, again, with a Y. And in the meantime, every third Tuesday following Steven Raichlen, you see her right here on the BBQ Central show. So, Robyn, appreciate you recapping the steak event and the Bloody Mary, and we'll see you again next month.
And Greg, I do just want to say you guys should follow me at Grill Girl Robyn on Instagram. And I just got a paddleboard, and I expect to be having a lot more bikini shots because I'm working on having more fun out on the water.
What's a paddleboard?
A paddleboard.
Like a paddleboard?
No, like you paddle places. Like
on the water. That's right.
Yeah.
Look, a guy in Cleveland.
I
don't.
Anyone. I don't even know. Your mind is so dirty. There's no spanking going on here, Greg.
No, there's nothing like that. I don't associate water sports in Cleveland. So forgive me if we're not very tropical here yet. Give me 3 or 4 months to get past winter, and then I can start thinking water sports on the lake. Right?
I won't be paddling you anytime soon.
Right. Great. Good news. But hurry up with the bikini shots because all the pervs are now salivating and my inbox is getting flooded. So, all right, Robyn, we'll see you in March. There she is. Promising the promise of bikini pics. Hilarious. Let me see if I get this right. If Robyn says, I got a new paddleboard and there's going to be more bikini shots, so follow my Instagram. If I said the same thing, you guys would be like, oh, her follow count is going up. If I say that, my trend is going down. Damn it. That's right, Smoking Bears. Greatest triple X-rated show ever. In the meantime, I'm way late. I got to figure out how I'm going to get caught up here, so it will be an abbreviated top of the hour, which we're already 2 minutes into. Let me talk to you quickly about the Barbecue Guru. We've always believed that outdoor cooking should be easy and fun because it can be, especially with the Monolith Barbecue Guru Edition grill. The Monolith is the world's first temperature-controlled smoker with a built-in power draft fan. This means smarter control and greater freedom with automatic temperature control. Easily choose your cooking time and temperature. Let the Monolith do the work of a sous chef or a barbecue pitmaster with minimal effort. You now have oven-like precision at the grill, and you can serve the tastiest, juiciest meals each and every time. Visit the website bbqguru.com. That's bbqguru.com, or you can go ahead and hit the website. Give them a call, 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. If you have a Barbecue Guru temperature control device, you don't have to buy a new one. If you've just recently purchased the Monolith grill, all you do is take the controller, run it down to the fan that's built into the Monolith, and away you go. If you want new tech, certainly up to you. You can get a new controller if you want. The CyberQ Cloud is the newest version. Hoping to get Big Bob Trudnak here on the show to give us some updates on cookers and controllers and anything new that's coming up. By the way, the rib ring, if you have a ceramic cooker, easily double the capacity of cooking ribs. Go from 3 racks to 6 racks easy with the rib ring. Very inexpensive, too. All right, we are back to start the second hour, an abridged top of the second hour. Stick around, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
Chuck, host of Wine Library TV, aka WLTV, and this is BBQ Central.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the BBQ Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono. It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet or wiener.
Now listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome aboard. It's the BBQ Central Show. We do it live every Tuesday night right here from Cleveland, Ohio. Not the tropical capital of the world, as we found out last segment with Robyn Lindars from grillgirl.com. She got a new paddle board. I was thinking like 6th, 7th grade when you act the fool in school. You know, when I had moved here from New York, I think within the first 4 months of me being in the school here in Cleveland, some kid was acting the fool. You know, the normal kid troublemaker. And all of a sudden was like, hey, Marcus is getting pulled into the boys' bathroom. And then there goes the math teacher with this paddle in his hand, and it had holes that were drilled in. I was like, what the hell is that? It looked like a paddle was kind of Swiss cheese. But they seemed to be pretty strategic holes put in that wood paddle, by the way. And then 3 minutes later, all of a sudden you heard whap, whap. That was Marcus getting beat. It's a good way to discourage bad behavior, getting your ass kicked by the math teacher. And it's not fisticuffs. He's just got to bend over, grit, and bear it. And he got like 4 or 5 whacks. It sounded brutal. It's one of those things where you're like gathered around the bathroom. And then as soon as that first swat happens, you're literally like ducking your head like, what? You don't expect it to be that brutalizing to your psyche. Where you're like, oh, that guy's a real ass. But I kind of feel bad for him right now because he is getting literally the wood put to him right now. So that's my first thought when anybody says paddleboard. It's poor Marcus getting his ass kicked by the math teacher in the 7th grade. Not hitting Hollywood Beach or the Atlantic Ocean. Paddleboarding. Someday, hopefully, through therapy, I will get over Marcus getting his butt kicked, but probably not anytime soon. That was brutal. Poor Marcus. But he's still kind of a dick. Probably today, still a dick. Sorry, Marcus. All right, still to come on the show, Sterling Ball in about 6-7 minutes from now. And then to close the show, maybe the creator, CEO, president of LA Talk Radio, sidetracked by John Dawson, weighing in. Boys' restroom, I got my wax in the hallway. What? At least Kenston Middle School had the class, John. This is probably when you were in Ashtabula, by the way. Kenston schools had the courtesy of removing said malfeasant from public view before brutalizing him in the boys' bathroom. We didn't have to watch it. We just had to hear it. Both wood hitting Heine and that kid screaming like a bitch. Can you imagine, like, nowadays that would happen? Well, first of all, it would never happen nowadays. Teachers would be immediately arrested. But if that happened, with how bravado 6th and 7th grade boys are, and they have no right to be, because I'm pretty sure even in my current condition, I can kick 99% of 6th and 7th grade boys' asses, and I'm saying that out loud. I'm pretty sure. Not in every case. I am slender, wiry, if you will. But I do fight very unfairly if it's one thing I learned from Ric Flair, the dirtiest player in the game. It's to get the advantage right away. If that means dropping to one knee and then popping right in the balls to get the upper hand, that's fine. Then work around, back of the neck, chokehold, and you're out. I'll fight like that. I'm not going to sit here and trade blows with anybody. 5th grade boy, 6th grade boy, 7th grade boy, man. I'm not trying to trade punches with anybody. Because the minute you hit my face, I'm going to be out like a light. I guarantee it. Plus, it's going to hurt really bad. And I don't want to punch anybody because it's going to hurt my fist really bad. I'm going to be the guy that hits you in the mouth. I might knock your tooth out, but it's going to end up in my knuckle. And it's going to hurt for days and weeks. I don't need it. So I'm going to drop to a knee, probably hit you in the balls, drop you down. Hopefully I can get around the backside and then get my arm underneath your neck. And I'm just wrenching back until you go limp. And hopefully I didn't kill you. I just choked you out. But I'm not MMA guy either. So I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just hoping I can get the advantage. And if I accidentally kill you, then we shouldn't have fought in the first place. I won. That's a long way to go from paddleboard, I got to tell you. Now I'm committing murder. Email from Zach Hill. Greg, I wish you and Sam the cooking guy could do shows more often. Just hearing you two assholes, in quotation marks, term of endearment, bicker with each other and bust balls makes these segments so good. Obviously, good content within, but the banter between you two Nancys is priceless. Thanks for the entertainment. Zach Hill. Zach, how dare you? Assholes. We are prime-time entertainers. Come on, Zach, you know it. Just kidding. I would love to do a monthly segment with Sam. I have not approached Sam about doing a monthly segment. Quite honestly, I don't know where we'd fit him in. We could probably do second Tuesday, but he's very busy. I don't know if you heard him or not, but I think last week he had mentioned he's got somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 or 14 Emmys to his credit. He does nationally televised infomercials. He's got his own shooting schedule for his YouTube stuff that he's got 240-some thousand subscribers. I mean, still well below Malcolm Reed, but who's counting? I have 8 subscribers, I think, to my YouTube. Kinger's got stats on that, ready to bust balls at a moment's notice. As far as my YouTube, because it blows. But we're getting better. We're taking large segments. I don't know if I had mentioned, but I have hired the birthday girl from last week to take the 2-hour show and cut it down into 4 of the interview segments. So you're looking at, I don't know, 12 to 18-minute bites of the show. A little bit more consumable, let's say. So I don't know what his schedule is like. I mean, do we have a camaraderie? Yes. Do we have a friendship that extends outside of the air? Yes. Do I think if I asked him more times than not, he would come on once a month? I'd say there's a better than 50% chance. I don't know if I feel like I want to I don't want to Sam is a good pull, okay? I don't want to overuse him. I don't know if you can overuse him. I mean, you see him 3 times a week doing various different cooking things in a 16 to 7-minute segment for his cooking show, which is probably going to be right around the same time frame if he was going to be doing a monthly appearance on this show. Is he somebody that you would associate with live fire? Probably not, but he does a lot of grilling. Zach, I totally buy in to your whole deal, okay? I agree. Good guy. John Dawson weighing in. Remps, for the record, per Sam the Cooking Guy's request, I hit dude up via his website and Instagram, And, yes, crickets. Oh, that's right, John. That's why you side with me. You don't side with the guests. You don't call me out. You call the guests out because you know I got your back. You know, I would send you a Barbecue Central Show shirt. You can't count on dudes from San Diego living in paradise to remember anything they said even 5 minutes after they said it because they're too busy reveling in the great weather, in the ocean, in the harbor seals, and all the rich people in La Jolla, all that stuff. That's why you can't count on them. It just happens. They don't mean it to happen. It just happens. Anyway. All right. We got a phone call coming in. Do we want to do this? Do we want to do this? Who is that? Is that Sterling? Can't be Sterling. I can't take it. I'm out of time. I'm sorry. I'm out of time. Can't do it. Got to make room for Sterling. He's a booked guest. Sir, I'm sorry. Hope that wasn't Sterling. Usually he shows up. Definitely not. Before we get to Sterling, let me talk to you quickly about Southside Market and Barbecue. Attention folks in the biz of barbecue. Established in 1882, Southside Market and Barbecue, the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. Owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations, they offer premium Central Texas barbecue products, slow smoked over real wood, shipping, distributing, manufacturing sausages for companies across the U.S., from food trucks to multi-chain restaurants. Southside Sausage can be on your menu, too. All meats processed in that on-site USDA-inspected facility. Not a lot of places have those, by the way. I think La Frida is the only other one that jumps right to mind here. Trusted partner with a focus on quality and authenticity. Wholesale options available. Shipping nationwide via FedEx, food service distribution through Cisco, U.S. Foods, and Martin Foods, some of the biggest names in that industry. Co-packaging capable, from research and development to package completion. They can follow your recipe or help you develop something brand new. Also, something I've been really high on, private label opportunities. What? What's a private label opportunity? Glad you asked. What? I'm glad you asked. That means if you already like a Southside sausage, right? You want to add it to your website, or you want to add it to your restaurant or food truck. You tell them which of their brands that you like, then you ship them your logo, and they will make all the packaging look like your stuff, except it's their stuff, right? Of course. That's private labeling. That's why you want to do that. Here's the kicker. If you go to SouthsideMarket.com right now, you get 10% off everything on the online order when you enter code BBQ Central. That's BBQ Central, lowercase one word, when you shop at SouthsideMarket.com. Sterling Ball out of the break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue. A man actually named Meathead. The author of a barbecue Bible. Bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And this portion of the show being brought to you by the good folks over at Smithfield. Are you signed up for the Smokin' with Smithfield National Barbecue Championship? No? Stop it. Do it now. Registration is free. Sign up today. Hit the website, Smokin', S-M-O-K-I-N, smokinwithsmithfield.com for all the details. Do it. All right, my last guest tonight. My first guest in the second hour tonight shows up semi-frequently. He makes some of the best rubs in the biz, both for the competition circuit and backyard cooks, sells sauces and cookers as well. Oh, by the way, happens to be one of the most consistent pitmasters on the circuit over the last handful of years. Let's go ahead and race to the hotline and welcome back good friend of the show, Sterling Ball. Sterling, how are you, buddy? Sterling. What? The hell was that? Okay, let's try again. I don't. Oh, no. No. Damn it. Oh. Brutal. Sterling.
Yes.
Hey, it's Greg Rempe, Barbecue Central Show. Remember, we had an interview. Greg Rempe, Barbecue Central Show.
I know you're 5 minutes late.
What are you talking about?
Which one? Is it that Hall of Famer?
No, you're first up.
I like that. 7:14.
Come on. Here we go. Let's go. You got plenty of time. I'm going to make room for you.
I sent you some pictures just now.
You did?
Yeah.
Man.
I just texted them to you. They're ones you want to see.
Am I supposed to show them on the show?
Yeah, because I want to talk about the full service competition.
Yeah, but they're on my phone. What am I doing here?
Greg?
Yeah.
Look at your watch.
Yeah.
2019.
I got it. I got the pictures. I'll show them up in front of the camera as we wow, look at that. You are one happy looking dude. I got to be honest.
It's a full service deal.
This past weekend, Smithfield Guinea Pig, 2019. Yeah. What year are we in now with guinea pig competitions? When they start? Is it 5-6 years now?
6 years.
Holy moly.
Yeah, and it's really gotten great. I mean, we moved it to my main company's headquarters, the Ernie Ball property, and I was worried that maybe people wouldn't like being in an industrial area, and I think everyone pretty much unanimously says it's significantly better. And when we did the guinea pig, it was a level playing field as best you can. Mm-hmm. It was a cost-controlled contest. It was one where hopefully the kids would be involved and dessert would be involved. And I'm really happy this year. We had, once again, 65% of the field cashed a check. We had like one of the great potlucks, too. James the Flame Perez, my partner, makes great tacos. We had Smithfield pulled pork tacos with a complete salsa bar. Then, of course, we had Dodger dogs and a bunch of chili that everybody did. So I only had 4 chili dogs.
Oh, you were showing restraint in 2019. Is that a resolution?
Well, no, it was my cheat nights and my diet. And boy, I didn't take any prisoners. But we had a great contest, and Jeff Staney of Slaughterhouse 5 won. And that is awesome because I think people think since we're competitors, because he has the Kansas City barbecue store, that it would be weird, like we're really good friends. And it gave me a chance on the microphone to say about 4 or 5 times that I was offering free freight this weekend, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
But he got a bunch of my money.
Yeah, he sure did. I mean, for the folks that don't know, Jeff Staney, BBQ Hall of Fame'er, was it last year he got put in, or year before that, I think? And
year before.
I mean, I don't know if maybe saying one of the all-time teams is a little overreaching, but certainly, in the history of competition barbecue, very accomplished, won a lot of contests, and then did the restaurant thing, and recently, over the last couple of years, has kind of gotten back into competition a little bit.
Well, he did a couple of years. He lives in the desert here in the winter, and I kind of showed him our thing, our program, and he went out and won a couple times, and then kind of lost interest last year. But I think this year it might have helped him a little bit. I mean, I think winning this might motivate him.
Do you think he would do 20 competitions this year, or would it be less than that?
No. If he does 5, I'll be amazed.
So he's not that.
And by the way, each year I went money from him because he always says he's going to cook more than he does, and I always pick a low number, and I make $100 a year off of Staney.
Does he? I mean, he's pretty headlong into the restaurant though in Kansas City when he's there.
Yeah, but he's also, enough about him.
Right. Who cares about the GC? Let's talk about the event itself. I mean, how did it come off?
How about the RGC with Ridge Rock Boys, our good friends Curtis? Listen, what it is, it's amazing. You know how hard I had to fight for this event.
Yeah.
Okay, to get sanctioned, to get bungs, to get draws, and to me, you look back on it, and it's so silly. I mean, and I'll tell you one thing that was really cool. We had 2 first-time cooks at it this year. And so in the cooks meeting, just for the hell of it, I said, how many of your first contest was the guinea pig? And 12 out of 50 raised their hand.
Really?
And these are people that are active on the circuit. Dad's chilling and grilling, a whole bunch of people, Papa LaRue. And I didn't realize that, blue-eyed barbecue. And to me, that was really rewarding to hear that this was a format that they felt willing to dive in on. And we sold it out in 2.5 hours. It never made even a Facebook post. So there's a lot of demand for it. And I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to do another one, okay?
You don't want to do another one for next year?
Oh, yes, we're going to do that because also I really have to point out that one of the things that keeps it going is our great sponsor, Smithfield, okay? I think Emily and Deidre and everybody over at Smithfield, I mean, you shouldn't expect a company to want to support a contest where you say, oh, by the way, there's no public. It's not a public facing event. You're just going to underwrite the thing or partially underwrite the thing for a bunch of barbecuers. And they see the benefit of it. It was instrumental in their push into barbecue. But that was one. And then the other reason why I'll have it as long as I can is it's a chance for me to honor my dear, dear friend, Matt Dalton, who's no longer with us.
Yep.
And so it's the Matty. And there was a pretty serious toast, jet coatings by some awful nice bourbon, because, that's what Matty liked. And Steph gives the toast one year, I give the toast this year. But it was nice to remember Matt. And it's nice to see California barbecue get along so well. And we had Lucky Q come out this year, and Shiggin and Grindon. We had a team from Australia come. And Shiggin and Grindon then, like I said, okay, make sure I'm on the list next year. So I think they really enjoyed it. I think it was a lot of fun.
Putting it, remember 6 years ago, it was the guinea pig is incorrectly billed maybe at that point as trying to get new teams to come in. As you had just mentioned, there were 12 teams. That was the first contest that they had ever cooked. But it was kind of coming off as, hey, let's try and get new blood into competition barbecue. But, quickly people realized, hey, this is an event that veterans can get in. We like the concept. We like the idea. And then we had talked about over the years, is this something where you're going to see 25 or 35 versions of a guinea pig happen during the course of the year? It's never evolved into that, really. Is that just because lack of effort from other people?
No, it's too hard. And you also need some of the connections that we have, because, and every year you'll have one or two guys complain about his box, but most people have kind of gotten over that.
Yeah.
And some people say, oh, I like to hand pick my meat, and then I point out that they get their ribs in the mail and their brisket in the mail. But I don't want to say that barbecuers aren't self-aware or anything, but can you imagine putting together 50 boxes for barbecuers that balance to like quarter pound? And we do Foster Farms chicken, which is a generic chicken out here. They get nine thighs, and they get 3 racks of Smithfield ribs, 2 racks of Smithfield prime butts. And this year we went with the Australian Master Kobe A9 from the Pensacola Butcher Shop, and they were fantastic.
So I'm not keenly aware of where the differences lie in these higher grades, but like what, in your opinion, what separates the A9s from whatever else is out there?
Well, I like how they cook. I also like that you're not paying for a whole lot of waste. There's a lot less fat in between the flat and the and the point, and I like the points better, but I also think that the flats are thicker, which I really like. I think they're just really good briskets. Listen, all the premium briskets are good. I just happen to really like A9. I'm cooking A9, so I brought them to the contest.
I would assume that if you're doing it, there's probably a decent handful of teams that are also using. I mean, are there teams cooking?
Oh yeah, way before me, and it started in Florida pretty much, and then it's spread. But I can't tell you who uses what because that wouldn't be appropriate.
Well, no, I'm not asking for that, but I mean, like, would you personally use take a brisket A and a brisket B, or do you have to be consistent in your briskets?
I like to cook the same thing. I like to cook the same weight. I weigh everything. I weigh my spices. I weigh everything weighs exactly the same each contest. And the cookers are calibrated. I mean, the one thing I've learned after being in barbecue for this our 10th year is that everything's important. Absolutely everything. And you're still dealing in a random deal. It's still subjective and it's still, tough. But like I've said many times before, I think on a big picture level, the judging's fine. I hate the seating program though. I hope that goes away soon. I don't think that helped barbecue.
I mean, I guess we'll see how that works out here over the next handful of months as the new board gets operated and situated, if you will. From a competition standpoint, Sterling, what is your 2019 currently shaping up to be? You still going to be in that 15 to 20 range, or are you going to do more than that?
Oh, no, I always try and do 25.
Yeah.
And I always my goal is to try and win 25 or fewer. And last year, I was only able to get 20 cooks in. We had 11 contests canceled in the Western United States last year, and it's a little slow right now. Still, again, we haven't lost any yet, but there aren't a bunch of them. It's tough. Like I'm not cooking until the last week of March, and thank God it's a double header.
Is that going to be in Colorado, or are you going to be out on the West Coast?
No, that's at the Santa Anita racetrack.
Oh, okay.
It's really, if people are thinking of coming to California to cook contests, that's one of them.
Yep.
I'll tell you, there's one the 4th of July, kind of south of Big Sur, in a town called Harmony. I think that'd be a real good one. But right now I'm cooking. I got Arcadia, which is Santa Anita doubleheader, then Lodi, Elk Grove, Boulder City, Murphy, Santa Clara, the Artesian, New Mexico double, and Smoking Hops, Kanab, Utah, and the Royal so far. So that's all I have. I only have about a dozen, and I'd like to have about 13 more.
Sterling Ball joining me here on the show. BigPoppaSmokers.com is his website. What's your main cooker right now, Sterling?
Oh, it's been for 5 years. Old Hickory Ace BP.
I talk about it.
I love.
I talk about it in the read for the Big Poppa spot, but for the folks that aren't familiar with it, I think you hear Old Hickory and you immediately stereotype into the bigger commercial kind of stuff. But this is a whole different looking cooker and a convection cooker as well.
Yes, and it's a little smaller than a CTO. Listen, in barbecue, first of all, I think that the Old Hickory pits for commercial are just outstanding. The great thing is there's not a part on it that you can't buy at a hardware supply store like Granger. They're pretty much analog machines. They're old school, but I mean, there's no circuit boards. It's old-fashioned thermostats, but they're just bulletproof.
Yep.
And there's one cooker called the CTO, which I'm sure you're familiar with. If you go down, there's like classic smokers. You got the Weber kettle. You got the Smoky Mountain. You got the drum. You got the Jambo. I think the Meadow Creek chicken cooker's one. I think the Old Hickory CTO absolutely is one, and some of the cabinet smokers. But that CTO is probably, it's one of those Hall of Fame cookers. And the BP is just a little bit smaller than that, and it doesn't have gas assist.
Sterling Ball joining me here on the show. Sterling, let me ask you about, switch it up here just for a second. Still in the competition side, but let's talk about competitive steak cooking. Something that you like? I mean, It's obviously very popular. SCA is obviously continuing to grow. There's other sanctioning bodies that are starting to sprout up, one based here in Columbus, Ohio, actually. But what are your thoughts on competitive steak cooking and where you see that in the next couple of years?
Well, I think it's great. But I don't want to do it.
Really?
And I haven't done it. Yeah, and listen, what you don't want to do is say anything that throws shade on something that everybody loves. But I mean, if the fire was right next to the steak and there was nothing in between it, other than a normal grate, I'd probably look for it. I'd probably like that. But it doesn't really interest me. Plus, I don't have time for another hobby.
Well, a lot of that is attached to an event you're already going to be at, though, right? It's going to be a Friday event. Not all the time, of course, but there could be some events where the Friday night's a steak cook-off, and then Saturday you got your barbecue cook.
You know what? Maybe I had to help Matt Dalton do it one time. It's a great story. We're at Del Mar. He goes, "Can I borrow your Santa Maria cooker?" I said, "Matt, no, you'll come in 11th." And he looked at me wounded. "Is that what you really think of me?" I said, "No, Matt, it's a Santa Maria. It's not going to put grill grate marks on it." I said, "You're going to come in 11th." And he was like kind of wounded. So I said, "Oh, we'll do it together." We did it. He turned it in. And guess what he finished?
First place.
11th.
Oh, as said.
Yeah, so it was a good joke, but it was true. Finished 11th. Look, I think anything that gets people together and cooking and camaraderie is great. And maybe if I did it a few times, I'd be completely hooked. I don't have anything against it. I just haven't been motivated to do one.
So you would be surprised, or not, the first, I believe it's an SCA event, is going to be taking place roughly 40 minutes from my house in a place, which I'm sure you heard of, Hartville, Ohio, home of the world's largest hardware store, and they have a huge outdoor cooking area. And they're going to be there doing a steak contest, and I said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to give it a try. But now I'm a little scared.
Why?
Because I want to go into 11th place.
Oh, come on. Greg, here's the deal. It's outdoor cooking, and there's 65 million videos. And you're a fine cook. I watch you all the time with your neighbor.
My neighbor Desmond?
Yeah, I watch you guys cooking together.
I love that guy. The best.
Who's better, you or Desmond?
How dare you, Sterling? You know damn well Desmond's a better cook than me.
No, I think you might be.
I think I might be too, but that's all right. We won't tell him that when we see him in person. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited. I want to give it a try. I don't want to invest the money in a competition barbecue situation at this point, but I figure for a couple $100, maybe for a chance to win 1,000 if I win, it's a pretty good trade-off for the better part of a day's work.
Oh, I think that's great. I think it's really good. You know what I wish in barbecue? I wish dessert. I mean, I wish the kids' queue wouldn't be shrinking. At the Little Rock contest, there was, I think, 5 kids cooked out of 92 or 94 teams, and we had 7. The first year we had the guinea pig, we had 31.
Wow.
And my favorite thing is kids' queue. We had a 3-year-old kid cooking, and he put goggles on. I said, "What are the goggles for?" This the smoke.
Smart.
He's cooking with goggles. I said, that was pretty good. So, Greg, you like this kind? This is kind of like how we talk when we're not on the air.
Yeah,
we're probably putting all 12 people asleep.
It's conversation. How dare you think that there's at least 12 people? You know, there's half that. What's your take on the kids' queue drop then? Are the kids not interested, or are kids not showing up, or what?
I don't, I really don't know. I think in a way it's become more of the guy's thing and less of the family. And I think the kid, a lot of people say the kids have a lot of activities, but they did 5 years ago too. Yeah. I just would like to see more of that. I think it's really fun, and I think it's good. And I think kids that know how to cook have got a great start on life. Cooking's important.
Sterling, outside of Big Poppa Smokers and the guitar stuff, You do a number of videos called Cooking with Big Poppa. I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with this or if they know where to find it, but let's talk a little bit about that, where you can find it and what you're up to with those videos, because I think from a everyday Joe kind of standpoint, this is right up my alley.
Well, that's what we want to do. I got started not to compete. I got started to teach men how to cook, and women too. But really, when I bought my first smoker, I realized this is unbelievable because guys can't burn the food. So if I just teach people what the right pit temperature is and the finishing internal temp, I can kind of fix a lot of really bad barbecuers. And I did the research. I talked to wives at parties and said, "Is he any good?" She goes, "No." Well, I said, "How come you don't take the tongs? We'll kill him." So I started this to make videos. So I made probably 100 videos over the years, but I think there's 37 on this one right now. And we're going to be adding to them. And Smithfield was very nice to help me with some of them. And then some of them were, I did in conjunction with Tabasco.
Where do you find them at?
Where I find www.cookingwithbigpoppa.com.
Do you have a favorite recipe right now that you've done?
Well, I hate to tell you, but I'm cooking a lot inside because, you know, it's been like 60 degrees here in the day.
Brutal.
No, I've been doing a lot of this off season. I've been doing a lot of cast iron cooking. A lot. In fact, I just bought a vermicular cooker, this new system that I'm really excited. I always like playing around with different stuff. You know, I went through sous vide. I went through all that stuff. I like just finding different ways of cooking meat.
What's a vermicular cooker?
I think it's from Japan, and it's a very precision cast iron, like Dutch oven, but it's got an induction base, and you can very precisely control the temperature, and it also heats the sides. So it'll steam, it'll roast, and it'll cook like almost sous vide. So it's really exciting. I mean, that's the thing I'm most excited about.
Sterling,
as far as cooking.
I'm sorry. What are you up to next?
What am I up to next?
Yep.
That's tough. I got a lot of guitar stuff coming up. And
give me a name. Tickle us with a feather. Tickle us with a feather. Biggest name on that list.
For me, with guitars?
Sure.
Well, I was really, currently, we had a very nice Grammy showing with St. Vincent playing guitar. I co-designed with her. We had the Super Bowl with Maroon 5. I co-designed that guitar with James Valentine. But, Ernie Ball Strings, if you read the back of the pack, let me read it to you because I forget sometimes. But here it says Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page / Jeff Beck, Guns N' Roses. You name it, there's over 100 names like that.
Wow.
So, and I deal with all those people, or if not the people in the text.
Who's the best guitar player?
Who's the best guitar player?
Yes, aside from you. By the way, for the folks that don't know, you play a mean fat neck, but you can also play a regular guitar as well.
Yeah, we almost got nominated for a Grammy. We're 6th out of 5, which bothered me. What really bothered me, Greg, is 2 drummers beat me out. drummers aren't supposed to have bands. Okay. No, but the best guitar player is somebody you probably wouldn't know. The most precise and technically proficient is a guy named John Petrucci, in my opinion.
Of course, I know.
Jeff Beck's probably one of the most amazing field player that's ever lived. There's so many of them right now. You got 8-year-old Chinese kids who can play Flight of the Bumblebee at double speed. You know, it's the internet has not only affected cooking but also music.
If you had to pick between Brad Paisley and John Mayer and Keith Urban, who's the better?
I think Brad Paisley.
Oh,
but I've worked with all of them. I actually resigned from a project with John Mayer designing a guitar for him. It wasn't working good, so I resigned. And he sent me an email, goes, like, you just quit. Well, I like to think of it as resigning. So, but he still uses our strings and uses a lot of our stuff. But designing a guitar for somebody is really, I mean, it's a relationship and it's a chemistry and it's just different. So, John Mayer's a very good guitar player. So is Keith Urban. I think Brad Paisley's probably would win that in my opinion.
What are the chances of you chasing down Dave Grohl and getting him on the show for me?
Impossible.
What? Do you know who you are?
Yeah.
You're Sterling Ball.
Yeah. Well, he has one of our drums, and when he's not on the road, he cooks all over L.A.
Yeah.
I invited him to the King of the Smokers, and I didn't hear back. So if I can't get him to the King of Smokers, I can't get him on your show. I'm sorry.
Wow. All right. Well, I mean, at least you're honest. I've
You
always
want
respected
You want me to lie to you?
No, I've never wanted you to lie to me. I always want you to keep it 100, as the kids say these days.
It's really, really nice seeing a guy like Dave Grohl just over the moon excited about cooking outside.
Do you buy it? Do you think do you think that's a gimmick, or you really think he likes it?
Oh no, I think he eats, breathes, and sleeps it. And I know when he's on the road, he stops in all the right places to eat. No, he's the real deal on it. I mean, he sits out. He's cooking all night. He's not doing like we do, where we're splitting, separating, and cooking hot and fast. He's like sits out with his lamb all night, you know. But I think that's really cool.
I do too.
Harry Connick is really into it too.
Yeah, he's best buddies with Meathead.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry about that. No, Meathead has taught him a lot, and so I think Mo's been on his show a bunch doing it.
I don't know that, but I just saw Meathead on it once doing his salmon dish or whatever pork tenderloin or whatever you give him shit about.
No, sweet and sour pork.
Yeah, right, sweet and sour pork.
I'm only saying that because if he is listening, but I know Meathead never listens unless he's on. Okay, but he happens to be listening.
How dare you?
That was a little shot.
No doubt.
And by the way, I love Meathead. Okay, and Meathead and I kind of came up at the same time, and we have very lively conversations.
That's the way it should be. Look, if you're interested in any of Sterling's products, you head to the website, bigpoppasmokers.com. Again, that's bigpoppasmokers.com. You have all the rubs, you have the sauces, you have the cookers. If you have any questions, you give them a call. They answer all your questions. It's just a great outfit. And Sterling, I've always appreciated the years of support you've given this show, both from a support standpoint and from your time being a guest here on the show. And I wish you nothing but success, and hopefully we can chat again soon.
Am I still in your Hall of Fame?
Yes. You know you are.
You know, I got the California one this year. That was good.
Hey, let me ask you this.
Made me really happy.
Let me ask you this. What about this other Hall of Fame? You know, the one that I continually try to get into tongue-in-cheek wise. Is that something you want to get into? You want to get into that Hall of Fame?
Sure, I'd love to, especially since I kind of fed the idea to Rod Gray. They don't really know where it came from. Okay, so and now I think journalists control it, and I don't know that I belong, but I'm sure if you ask anybody honestly, would they like to be in it? Yes. You know, I do have a club with William Murray, and it's called the Palma Valley Thunderbird Owners.
I know. You're the only two in it. We know.
Well, they don't know, but what I do is we get free lunches because we ask people if they'd like to be considered for membership.
That's part and parcel.
The thing is, they have to buy our lunch, and at the end they say, "How do I do?" I said, "No."
Nope. Good try.
One time we went out in our two Thunderbirds. We went out, and he broke down, and I threw jumper cables at him and left him on the side of the road.
What a nice guy you are.
He can get home, trust me.
Yeah, no doubt. In the meantime, it's Sterling Ball of Big Poppa Smokers. Again, the website, bigpoppasmokers.com. Sterling, always appreciate the time, my friend. Thanks so much.
Greg, take the rest of the day off.
Thank you, sir. I will. The rest of the day, or as we say here on the show, the next 15 minutes or so. Again, Sterling Ball, bigpoppasmokers.com, if you are interested. You know, I don't know if anybody's keeping track here or not, but aside from Robyn, the grill girl, who anxiously talked about her and her father going down to the shed to do the Steak Cook-Off Association steak contest last month. Is this a joke? Why not? You're on the air. Go ahead. I mean, are you kidding me? You're kidding me, right? Turn your radio off, douche. When you hear me talk and say you're on the air, you're on the air. There's no screener. You don't have to play through somebody to get to me. As soon as you hear my voice, as soon as you can hear the show, guess what? You're on deck. I'm going to you. I'm going to you. That's how it works. You have to turn the radio off in order to make it happen. Let's try it again. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey. Listen, is at the Coos Barbecue. I'm looking for a stick burner. What's the best stick burner?
Are you looking for a traditional flow or a reverse flow?
I'm looking for a reverse flow.
Reverse flow?
Yes.
It's got to be a Lang. It's got to be a Lang.
It's got to be a Lang? You think so?
It has to be. There's one in my backyard right now that tells me every day I'm the best reverse flow smoker.
Well, I guess I got to buy one.
What size are you going to buy? 48? Got to be 48.
I think a 48. I got about a 22 right now.
What's your budget?
Maybe about $2.
$2 or 2,000?
2G.
All right, let's take a different look at this. What's your name again?
Dave Cusick.
Dave, okay. Are you against the traditional flow, firebox on one side, chimney on the other?
Well, right now I have a char griller. I know.
Oh, yeah, come on.
It's a 50-50. But I don't have enough space.
Well, here's the question. So we talked about reverse flow or regular flow, and you said reverse. But I'm pretty keen. I love my Lang. So I mean, if you want to look at the Lang, I would say look past the 36, 48, 42 or whatever it is. But also consider this brand called Primitive Pits. You familiar with Primitive Pits?
I'm not.
Okay, so they're not very sexy at all. In fact, they could be considered ugly from an aesthetic standpoint only. But from what I have heard, these things are holding temperature from left to right within 3 and 4 degrees. And that's talking fireside to the exhaust side. Primitive Pits.
Really?
Now, you said $2,000. If you're looking for the best stick burner, the best, then you have to look at a Jambo pit. But $2 or $2,000 probably ain't going to buy you the wheels on that thing. Are you familiar with Jambo pits?
Yeah, of course. I've seen Malcolm Reed do the Jambo.
Yeah, right. He just got a new Jambo. I'm telling you, I would say Lang is in that area for reverse flow for sure. If you're open to different kinds of exhaust flow, I would look at Primitive Pits. I'm going to draw JD. Jimmy Daniel is the guy that owns it. PrimitivePits.com, I believe, is the website. You tell him you talk to me, and you're looking for the Babe. I think that's in that $2,000. It might be a little higher than that, but these things are absolutely fantastic. From what I hear, I don't have one, so I can't speak from personal opinion. And then, of course, you have a Close Pits in Houston. You have Gator Pit in Houston. I mean, these are all the classic standby, stalwart type of offset cookers that I would suggest.
Well, that's what I'm looking for. I mean, I need something that I just tried to do 4 ribs the other day.
4 racks?
And it was a little too tight. Yeah, racks on racks.
Yeah, you're going to want to look at something in that, at least 42 inches or more. Get space. Okay. Buy up. The worst thing you can do is decide that money is a bigger factor than space, and then you save the money, and as soon as it shows up, you're like, shit, I should have got more space. You don't want to do that. Don't have buyer's remorse. Buy up and be happy.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, Dave. Take care.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Why do people say that? Cheers. It's goodbye. I say goodbye to you. Cheers. That's weird when people say that. All right, well, I just gave some pretty sound advice. Sage, even. Sage. Savvy vet. Savvy vet behind the microphone giving pit buying experience. Jambo backyard, John. Forget about that. I'm talking about the J10. If we're going to be buying a Jambo, we're not buying the backyard. Hey, there's Brian Guerrero. Hey, Brian. Now, Dave, if you're open to pellet cookers, you still here, Dave? Dave? Might I suggest a Green Mountain Grill? Next week, we will be having the president of Green Mountain Grills, Jason Baker, on. We're going to be talking about Green Mountain Grills Prime. It's the brand new line that's slowly rolling out. Everybody's seeing it more and more over the last handful of weeks. And we are going to be talking about it in depth next week with Jason Baker. You have the Jim Bowie, that's the biggest. Dave, if you're looking and open for a pellet cooker, I would recommend that. Char grill. I'm not going to snob out, dude. If you want something a little less big, you can go Daniel Boone. If you want something, maybe you want the Jim Bowie or the Daniel Boone, and you want something that you can take on tailgates, or maybe you're a camper. If you're into that, I don't understand camping at all, but maybe you're into that. You want to take something with you that gives you that wood pellet fired taste. I mean, come on, you know it. Davy Crockett's going to give you that experience. If you don't have access, maybe you're in a really remote area of camping where you're actually pitching a tent, which I totally don't understand. If you have access to your 12-volt connection in your car, truck, van, or SUV, you can fire up that Davy Crockett and away you go. It's great. Of course, for tailgates and sporting. As I've said, I think I'm going to nab one and use it this summer for softball tournaments, piss all the other dads off. In the meantime, you can go to greenmountaingrills.com and check everything out. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This segment brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect via the Wi-Fi or cloud-based monitoring, or via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com. That's fireboard.com. I know they have new products coming out this year. Just got to track down Ted Conrad and get him back here so we can talk about it. 816-945-2232. And unfortunately, we did not have a Sam Hassan visit. All right. Brian, I do not have a Prime yet, but rumor has it I will be getting a Jim Bowie Prime. I don't actually need a Daniel Boone Prime because my Daniel Boone is, newish. I think it's 3 years old. And it's I primarily use a Daniel Boone as the pizza cooker. I will rip it out and do traditional slow smoking or smoke roasting in there, especially if I need capacity. But 90% of the time, that thing is my standalone pizza cooker, and I'll use the Jim Bowie. I think I'm all caught up on reads here. All right, let me quickly get out, and we'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
Okay, wrapping it up. Best XXX show ever, as potentially brought to you by paddleboard operator Robyn Lindars from Grill Girl, who's promising bikini pics. More bikini pics. Were there other ones? Filling up the Insta feed. Harpooning fish in the Atlantic. I'd like to see that. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with Steven Raichlen, BBQ Hall of Fame'er. After that, we had Robyn Lindars, the Grill Girl, grillgirl.com, her website. recapping the steak event and Bloody Marys. Second hour Sterling Ball came up huge, and while we had potentially planned for Sam Hassan, owner, creator, founder of LA Talk Radio, that didn't happen, which it was a 50-50 shot anyway. Maybe we'll try and line up again for next Tuesday or the Tuesday after. It was last minute. He's very busy. It's very busy. It's LA time, for crying out loud. Big show planned for you next week. Embedded correspondents are in. Jason Baker is in. Matt Eads is in. Is that enough for you for next week already? We have some other stuff lining up as well, so stay tuned for that. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Till next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
BBQ Central.